If there's one critique of the media from the right that I do agree with, is the moralizing nature. Like, there is no condescension and moralizing on Fox. It's people on a couch asking questions. Are you worried about how many terrorists are coming in on the border? Do you ever worry about that? Whereas if you turn on MSC sometimes, you're like, it's like birds descending, at sea on a tuna boat going, that's factually incorrect. Incorrect. Not correct. Incorrect. And you're just like, I can't listen to this.
You're all acting like the tariff regime is a tried and true remedy. Oh, of course, this is the medicine that's always prescribed. Except the last time it was tried 100 years ago, we had a Great Depression.
Jon Stewart has once again set his sights on MSNBC, this time dismantling the network for its relentless attacks on Donald Trump. And let's be honest, that's a bit unexpected coming from Stewart, who's made a career out of mocking Trump. But hey, it's actually kind of refreshing. It shows that even some of Trump's fiercest critics are starting to call out the double standards on their own side. And they're not holding back. Stewart's takedown was so savage it practically broke the internet. And of course, we've got all the receipts right here. But before we dive in, don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss epic moments like this.
First law of Trumpodynamics. Every action is met with a very not equal overreaction.
These pardons are sick. They are offensive. They are un-American.
This is one of the most egregious, despicable acts in American history.
This is textbook authoritarian takeover 101.
You know, I should have taken that class. And not majored in submissive liberal crying 101.
Trump derangement syndrome is hitting new, almost cartoonish heights, and even liberals like Jon Stewart are starting to sound the alarm. The lies, the scripted outrage, the shamelessly twisted narratives, it's all spiraling out of control. And Stewart has had enough. At the center of this media circus is MSNBC, a network practically engineered to take down Trump and usher in the era of performative wokeness. But here's the twist: Jon Stewart and a growing number of his ideological peers aren't playing along anymore. They are breaking ranks, calling out the hypocrisy, and exposing the left's media machine for what it really is: a propaganda engine disguised as journalism. It's not about defending Trump, it's about defending truth. And Stewart, surprisingly, is becoming an unlikely voice of reason in a landscape gone mad.
Want to make America great again? You can't skimp on the details.
President Trump says he's going to reverse Joe Biden's mandate to phase out plastic straws, saying, enjoy your next drink without a straw that disgustingly dissolves in your mouth.
Okay, he's right on this one. He is right on this one. Those straws are f***ing terrible. Objectively terrible. I'm supposed to have some weird tissue paper dissolve in my mouth just because turtles can't figure out straws aren't food? No. Don't eat the tubes, you stupid turtles. So Trump is making America great again by taking us back to 2016. But obviously, if we're going to make America great again, we can't stop in 2016. We got to keep pushing to that place when America was truly great.
Is exactly what I've been talking about. Straight down journalism with zero bias is becoming a rare gem. I mean, let's face it, Biden has rolled out some environmental policies that are not only laughable but borderline absurd. These are the kinds of policies that deserve to be questioned, mocked, and put under a microscope. But do you think his loyal media mouthpieces at MSNBC or CNN will call him out? Of course not. You could shove the flaws in Biden's agenda right in their faces, and they'd still find a way to spin it as a triumph. It's like they're allergic to accountability. Whenever the left is in power, this isn't journalism anymore. It's PR with a teleprompter. And the American people are starting to see right through it.
If there's one critique of the media from the right that I do agree with, is the moralizing nature. Like, there is no condescension and moralizing on Fox. It's people on a couch asking questions. Are you worried about how many terrorists are coming in on the border? Do you ever worry about that? Whereas if you turn on MSC sometimes, you're like, it's like birds descending, at sea on a tuna boat going, that's factually incorrect. Incorrect. Not correct. Incorrect. And you're just like, I can't listen to this.
MSNBC appears to be running with a clear anti-Trump, anti-Republican agenda where every single statement from a former president or his allies is scrutinized under a microscope. They obsessively check for inconsistencies, fact-check every syllable, and frame even minor missteps as earth-shattering scandals. It's relentless, but where was that same energy when Biden was in power? Suddenly the fact-checking disappeared, gaffes were brushed aside. Broken promises were rebranded as evolving policy instead of challenging the administration. They coddled it, offering softball coverage and carefully curated narratives that shielded Biden from real accountability. And when MSNBC does catch even a faint whiff of an inconsistency from the right, they don't just report it, they magnify it, sensationalize it, and turn it into wall-to-wall coverage. It's not journalism, it's partisan theater. A double standard is glaring, doesn't just erode trust, it exposes the media's true loyalties, and viewers are starting to catch on.
I think what the media has done over the last 10 years is cry wolf, to the point where they numbed everybody. It was an anesthetic. And it got to where, what was the thing they litigated throughout this campaign? He's a fascist, he's a terrible person. Democracy is on the ballot. Guess what lost at the ballot? If you told us democracy is on the ballot, well, democracy got its ass kicked by a majority vote. So I'm very cautious about when to know, like, yeah, hopefully I won't do it the night after Crystal knocked. I'll get it, like, but it's like, when do you put your dog down? Like, it's one of those things, like, you're not quite sure. But I do understand how annoying that is.
I think what the media has done over the last 10 years is cry wolf to the point where they numbed everybody. It was an anesthetic. And it got to where what was a thing they litigated throughout this campaign is a fascist, is a terrible person, democracy is on the ballot. Guess what loss it'd be if you told us democracy is on the ballot? Well, democracy got its ass kicked by a majority vote, so I'm very cautious about when to know, like, yeah, hopefully I won't do it the night after Crystal knocked. I'll get it, like, but it's like, when do you put your dog down? Like, it's one of those things, like, you're not quite sure, but I do understand how annoying that is. Another truth bomb from the comedian Jon Stewart drops it, and the media flinches, because here's the deal: when networks like MSNBC and CNN keep crying wolf when there's clearly no wolf, people eventually stop listening. And honestly, who can blame them? It's all panic, no substance, all outrage, no facts. No wonder their ratings are in.
Inspiring words for us. Mr. President.
History is literally watching us now. So let's preserve this secret place for our time and forever, for the benefit of all humanity. Thank you very, very much.
Where are you going? Where are you going? You know, maybe this is how we should do the transfer of power. The winner moves into the White House and the incumbent just wanders off into the jungle so that his nutrients may be returned to the soil.
Free-fall viewers are tired of being lied to, gaslit, and manipulated by so-called journalists who treat their political bias like gospel truth. That's why more and more Americans are ditching legacy media and turning to independent platforms for actual reporting, the kind that doesn't come prepackaged with spin and condescension. The lies pouring out of the mainstream media machine are not just frustrating, they're nauseating. The public's trust is gone, and unless these outlets pull a hard 180, they are headed straight for irrelevance. You can only push propaganda for so long before people start waking up. And it looks like that wake-up call is already happening.
Quite frankly, the response to the first show last Monday was universally glowing.
Jon Stewart is facing massive backlash from Democrats over his comments about Joe Biden. Oberman tweeted, "Well, after 9 years away, there's nothing else to say to the both side is fraud Jon Stewart bashing Biden except please make it another 9 years." Christy Jackson tweeted, "Sorry, but I won't be watching you either."
Okay. Maybe not universal. Well, that was on Twitter. Everything on Twitter gets a backlash. I've seen Twitter tell labradoodles to go themselves. Labradoodles.
Just like Bill Mayer, Jon Stewart isn't afraid to take a swipe at President Biden, and that's exactly what true comedians are supposed to do: speak the truth and use comedy as a scalpel to cut through the noise. Stewart doesn't tiptoe around party lines or bow to political correctness. He calls it like he sees it, and that's what makes him stand out in today's echo chamber media landscape. His unapologetic takes have earned him a mix of devoted fans and vocal critics, but he couldn't care less. Stewart isn't in the game to win applause from either side. He's in it to challenge narratives, expose hypocrisy, and say the things the approved media won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Meanwhile, the woke media bends over backward to excuse every one of Biden's gaffes, whether he's rambling off script or forgetting names mid-sentence instead of holding power accountable. They coddle at Stewart. He speaks his mind, no filter, no spin. And that's exactly why his voice is resonating louder than ever. Unfortunately, the Democrats aren't the ones to take criticism lightly, and they came after Stewart gun-lazing.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
How did Biden do not talking?
Nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing.
Not great. Oh, shit, we're back, baby! Abortion! A to the B to the O to the R to the T to the repeal of Roe v. Wade. That is Trump's weakest issue.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
Did you just immigration abortion?
Left loves to brand itself as a champion of democracy and free speech, but the moment someone steps out of line, they're the first to silence dissent. It's a classic double standard. On paper, they preach inclusivity and open dialogue, but in practice, that inclusivity only extends to those who echo their talking point, step outside that ideological bubble. And suddenly you're the enemy. That's exactly why people like Jon Stewart, once hailed as a progressive icon, are now constantly hounded by the very crowd that once cheered him on. Why? Because he dares to question the woke orthodoxy. He points out the absurdities of contradictions and the hypocrisy, and for that they label him a traitor. The message is clear: toe the line or face the backlash. But Stewart refuses to fall in line. And that's what makes him dangerous to both sides, is not playing the partisan game, is calling it out. And in a time when honest voices are shouted down for not pairing the correct opinions, that kind of integrity is rare and desperately needed. But Stewart is made of steel and just didn't care. He went after Biden even harder.
For some reason, there is a persistent fiction within the Democratic Party that if they just hang out with Republicans in the gym or wait out Trump's popularity or give them concessions on a continuing resolution they said would harm the country, that Republicans will finally see the light. The Democrats will be rewarded with productive bipartisanship, or, as they put it,
this fever will break. All this excitement about Donald Trump, it's going to break.
So it is like a cult. The fever will break.
Is this the night the fever will break?
A chance to break the fever.
I believe at some point soon the fever will break.
I think you're going to see the fever break.
President Obama saying, quote, "Now I believe when we're successful in this election that the fever may break."
If someone's been running a fever since the aughts, that's not a fever. That is their default resting temperature.
Jon Stewart has been one of the rare liberals willing to call out President Biden's ineptitude without flinching, while most of the mainstream left circled the wagons and protected Biden at all costs. Stewart broke ranks, mocking the president's endless string of gaffe, contradictions, and baffling public appearances. And sure enough, the Democrats came for his head. The outrage machine kicked into gear, accusing Stewart of betrayal, of giving ammo to the other side. But he didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. He didn't walk it back, because unlike many in his camp, Stewart still values honesty over blind allegiance. He understands that comedy isn't about protecting power, it's about speaking truth to it. And if that means calling out the flaws of a president you once supported, so be it. Stewart's commitment to intellectual honesty, even at the expense of his popularity with the left, is exactly what separates him from the echo chamber pundits posing as comedians. Today it's risky, it's bold, and it's why his voice still matters for.
There's one critique of the media from the right that I do agree with, is the moralizing nature. Like, there is no condescension and moralizing on Fox. It's people on a couch asking questions. Are you worried about how many terrorists are coming in on the border? Do you ever worry about that? Whereas if you turn on MSC, sometimes you're like, it's like birds descending, at sea on a tuna boat going, "That's factually incorrect. Incorrect."
The truth of the matter is this: until the Democrats abandon their obsession with woke ideology, the so-called Trump fever isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's only gaining momentum the more the left doubles down on identity politics, censorship, and performative virtue signaling. The more everyday Americans feel pushed away and pulled towards someone who at the very least speaks in plain, unapologetic terms. People gravitate toward Trump not because of blind loyalty, but because his policies love them all. Hate them are rooted in common sense: border security, energy independence, economic growth. He talks about real problems with practical, sometimes blunt solutions. And in a world where everything feels over-politicized and deliberately complicated, that kind of clarity is refreshing. The longer Democrats ignore that reality, the longer Trump's appeal will endure, until the left gets serious about real issues and stops catering to fringe narratives. They're just handing Trump and candidates like him more fuel to win over frustrated voters. In the end, the media's bias, the left's double standards, and the Democrats' obsession with woke politics are only driving more people toward voices like Trump and Stewart. Until truth trumps narrative, the shift to common sense and accountability will only grow louder and harder for the establishment to ignore. And that brings down the curtain on today's video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.